Cheddar Chase is the largest steel coaster currently in operation at Alabama Splash Adventure. This is a Wild Mouse coaster, but it's from a different manufacturer than usual in L&T Systems, and it has a bit of an interesting history. So is it a good fit for this Alabama theme park? Find out in this review of Cheddar Chase. L&T Systems was an Italian ride manufacturer active from 1997 to 2009. Most of their coasters were on the smaller side, but they did install 8 different Wild Mouse coasters. Interestingly, half of those were later relocated, including the installation that now runs as Cheddar Chase. This ride opened back in 2001 at Lake Winnipesaukee as Wild Thing. Just 1 year later, the coaster was renamed Wild Lightning, which it went by for the rest of its life at Lake Winnie. I rode Wild Lightning once, and it was one of the most intense wild mice out there. The first half of the usual series of hairpin turns with fine laterals, strong but comfortable. But the second half was downright insane. There was zero braking, and you had a considerable amount of speed. And the turns were just as sharp, so you got some extremely abrupt and jarring laterals. I personally enjoyed the ride's ferocity, but a lot of people found this too uncomfortable. Some described the coaster as trying to break a rib. Along with a polarizing ride experience, the coaster was involved in a series of incidents. The most notable one occurred in 2018 when a woman tragically fell from the coaster. She did survive, but she needed surgery. Others reported getting injured on this coaster, presumably due to the laterals. After the 2021 season, Lake Winnie sold the coaster to Alabama Splash Adventure. The coaster would reopen in 2022 as Cheddar Chase. And this ride has a bit of a wacky location. If you're familiar with Alabama Splash Adventure, you know the dry park is built on a hill. In the back left corner, there's a long windy path taking you up the hill. The trek is long on its own, but it's doubly annoying by the fact it's a complete dead end. From 2005 to 2011, this plot was home to Zoomerang, a Vekoma boomerang, and it looked absolutely massive overlooking the park. After the amusement side stopped operating in 2012, Zoomerang was relocated to India, and the site sat vacant for a decade. Once the park started opening the amusement side again, it was earmarked for a future coaster, and it was finally filled in 2022 with Cheddar Chase. The location is just as cool as before. The coaster looks way taller than any Wild Mouse should be from the Midway. Then on ride, you get an added sense of height as you get a great vantage point of the park. However, it is still an annoying ride to access. It is still a dead end, and there's nothing else up there. No other rides, shops, nor facilities. I think this really hurts the overall ridership of the attraction. The water park is by far the biggest draw at this park, but Cheddar Chase always seems to be a walk-on even on summer Saturdays. And that's saying something because this is not the most efficient ride. I doubt this ride can accommodate over 200 riders per hour. The coaster is operating with just 2 cars the day I visited. Each car holds a maximum of 4 riders, and usually was sent out with less than that. I do like how the cars look though. At Lake Winnie, the vehicles looked like a weird hybrid of a mouse and automobile. Now, the cars look way more mouse-like between the face and the tail in the back. Then the coaster's colors look good too. It's the same paint scheme from the Lake Winnie days, but it was repainted during the move so it's now brighter. It really stands out on a sunny day. But there's nothing else to see with this coaster. There's no theming on the ride, nor in the plaza. Heck, this ride doesn't even have a real queue line. You just head up a staircase into the station, and if the line does back up, it would just spill onto the Midway. The station is configured with a separate load and unload platform, just like it was at Lake Winnie. Once seated, each rider gets their own seatbelt. Then each row is a shared lap bar. Wild mice usually feel pretty cramped, and that's unfortunately the case with this one too. Once dispatched, you turn out of the station and ascend a 48-foot or 14.5 meter tall lift hill. The lift isn't too fast, but it is surprisingly steep. This allows the coaster to occupy a much smaller footprint than your average mouse. At the top, you have a great view of Rampage. Then you hit your initial series of hairpin turns. The first view of strong laterals paired with an epic view looking down the hill. You can see the entire park from up here. But halfway down this section, you have a trim brake that slows you way down. These were always present in Wild Lightning, but they were never turned on. At Alabama Adventure, all the trims are turned on. This leads to the remaining hairpin turns in the first half having merely decent laterals. You still get the same great views though. You are trimmed once again before entering the second half of the layout. Even when this coaster ran trimless as Wild Lightning, this coaster never had any airtime. So that remains the same at Cheddar Chase, especially because you have less speed. The second half kicks things off with a dip down and a rise upwards. Then you have one of those sharp turns that used to be a rib smasher. Now, it has laterals on par with the end of the first half. You then dip down and up once again, and you navigate another hairpin turn above the station. Again, you get decent laterals here. You are then braked again and slowed way down. You crawl over a few humps and you hit one last hairpin turn. You have too little speed this time to get laterals. Then you have one last dip and hop upwards in the final brake run. And you have to brace yourself for the stop. It is brutal. The train very harshly and abruptly slams to a complete stop. The park has a sign warning guests of this, but it's still easy to get jerked backwards. You can really see it off-ride. Few brakes in a coaster are worse in my opinion. Given all the other changes the park made to this coaster to make it more comfortable, I'm honestly surprised this was not adjusted. You then return to the station, ending the 1,183 foot or 360 meter long coaster. Now what about the pacing and smoothness? This changed mightily when the coaster was moved to Alabama. The park gave this coaster an all-new control system. As I noted in my element-by-element breakdown, you are braked at several points in the layout. As a thrill seeker who enjoyed the tenacity of Wild Lightning, this did negatively impact the experience for me personally. However, this is a wise decision for the majority of guests. Wild Mice are perfect family coasters. They have modest height and speed while offering a pinch of thrills with their sharp maneuvers. The laterals toss riders sideways, but usually the forces are bearable. Wild Lightning Run trimless was probably too much. The laterals were so forceful and abrupt that they could cause pain, which hurt the experience with its main demographic. I didn't see anyone coming off Cheddar Chase crying or screaming in agony. I did see that at Lake Winnie. This is a far more tolerable experience now. I doubt anyone would find it uncomfortable nowadays. So what would I rate Cheddar Chase? I would give this Wild Mouse a 4 out of 10. I do think this is a slightly below average Wild Mouse now. While I do like the views in the first half and the laterals on some of the turns, the forces simply are not as good as other installations out there. The laterals are solid, but other mice with less braking are better in this department. Then this one has no semblance of airtime, which is a bummer. That being said, this is a fine family coaster for this park. Just know it is a step down from the other mice out there. So those are my thoughts on Cheddar Chase at Alabama Splash Adventure. What are your thoughts on this coaster? Do you think the changes to slow down the coaster were smart? Or do you wish it still ran full tilt? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.